What does it mean to be human? We live within these confines that we do not realize that society dictates everything around us, including the moral standards that we live by. We have dehumanized our intrinsic purpose and destiny until it has been eliminated out of our very existence. We do not even realize that it has been washed away from our conscience and subconscious mind, that we have succumbed to humanity's godlike dictatorship over us. Of course, many of us think that we follow a moral standard that gives us meaning and salvation. Unfortunately, we have never questioned the in-depth meanings of these teachings and rules and regulations in leading a productive life and offer our inner beings the peace and hope we so desire in our lives. There are worldviews that stimulate our sense of tranquility and zen and fool us into believing that living a life within those boundaries will ultimately give reason to our creation, purpose, meaning, and destiny. Nevertheless, in reality, these methods only dull our senses to the realities of the world around us, ultimately decaying our inner souls, while we fool ourselves into believing that their calm, tranquil lives will ultimately provide fulfillment in our existence. We allow ourselves to be fooled into sensational and misleading beliefs that cloud our senses of reality around us. World beliefs that continuously provide avenues into believing that our indiscretions and immoral lifestyles can ultimately allow us penance or forgiveness by our own subjective transcendent moral belief that ultimately fulfills whatever requirement that man-made moral standards dictate. It can be accomplished and thus gives us our sense of salvation. What that salvation results in seems to have a definite point of reference to a transcendent divine power. However, unfortunately, man translates these transcendent moral standards that must be followed with strict obedience. Therefore, many people accept these teachings without question, without really knowing what it's based on and from where the actual source is. However, again, when we disguise our misdeeds by providing modes of penance, we soothe our weary hearts, thinking that we are on the right track to salvation. Interestingly enough, we have worldviews that are so closely related that it may seem that man has conveniently taken their basic fundamental values from each of their beliefs and concocted their concepts of creation, purpose, meaning, and destiny. If we select the three most closely related worldviews whose influences worldwide in modern times have dictated worldviews, politics, laws, and every facet of humanity, that it is a wonder that humanity has not ended up destroying everything is a miracle in itself. When we look at the youngest of the major religions, it is an evident assembly of beliefs from the two earlier worldviews, added with convenient guidelines that seem to benefit the provider himself. The earlier two are based on continuing revelations, but unfortunately, have caused rift based on which of the two represent humanity's final destiny. While the earlier seems to await for a savior, the latter celebrates that savior's arrival and departure and awaiting his final return, which strangely the last of the three concur. Moreover, all three agree on judgment that shall prevail against all humanity. The only way humanity can come to terms with itself is to take the time and study and understand the evidence that exists and understand its relationship with us. Let us put the overzealous philosophers and broad-minded theological experts' interpretations aside, as well as the proposed scientific declarations by learned individuals, and every one of us look at the evidence that exists by ourselves, not having to adhere to what everyone tells us, but to apply our logic and simple deductions based on the evidence to provide a conclusion ourselves. If we are seriously determined to seek a moral absolute, then it is within our powers to find it ourselves. Put aside all influences we have concerning other world beliefs that have so far misguided our attempts to finding peace within ourselves. Only when we have the genuine desire to seek the truth will the truth be revealed. It starts with us. Do not be influenced by what people say, which will then put us at a disadvantage. Do not let outside fears distract our goals. Once we have set our minds determined for the truth, then ultimately we will find it. If we answer these questions, then we are moving along the right path. Unless these critical questions are answered, no matter how we try to establish anything else, it will be to no avail. We need to establish our position within the global picture. Why are we a part of it? What are the reasons we are a part of it? When did we become a part of it? And who made us a part of it? These questions lead to the foundation of critical questions, quintessentially the most important question of all, which is the creation story. We must look at all the evidence related to the creation story. Includes all scientific, philosophical, theological, naturalist, atheist, theist, and religious arguments. To believe the most influential thesis that tries to debunk the transcendent viewpoint is science itself. Nevertheless, in reality, sciences have cornered themselves into their foundation, proclaiming that creation began outside the spectrum of what our reality can prove. Quantum physics proclaims events outside our acceptance of logic and says that creation started from nothing. I could have saved them hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and asked them just to read the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Or the Holy Quran in chapter 7, Surat Al-Raf, verse 54, that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Or even the Jewish Torah, in the beginning, the Lord created the heavens and the earth. Besarith, chapter 1, verse 1. At least they all agree that point. If modern day science cannot explain the actual moment of creation and expects us to accept it just happened out of nothing, then why would believing that there was a force or entity outside our realm of comprehension that initiated creation is so challenging to accept? At least we see a consensus on an acceptable logic. To use the term logic now, but as we further expand our knowledge, we will see further evidence that will support such an existence outside the realm of man. It is the autonomous and arrogant attitude of humanity to expel any submission to anything outside their authority of control, an inherent trait since creation. We deny any subservient role to a higher entity than ourselves. Some say it makes us unique, but it also makes us arrogant, belligerent, unwavering, stubborn. If being unique makes us all the rest, then maybe it's time that we realize that we are not unique, but made unique in the image and likeness of something perfect in this existence. Wouldn't it be nice to be associated with something perfect than for us to proclaim that we are? Wouldn't it add more worth to who we are? There is no position to proclaim any judgment on our fellow brothers and sisters, for anyone too will be judged. We can only present a position to present a case for all of us who are looking for answers before it's too late. When science itself knowingly acknowledges the improbability of anything coherent within our reality, to explain the creation process logically, but conveniently and cleverly exerts its authority by proclaiming that they are in the position to provide proof without evidence. They provide scientific explanations that are seemingly made up of formulas and theories, and expect us all to accept it because they claim authority over the evidence and does not need to be proven. When we start to look at our planet and start calculating the probability of any life to have started, would be compounding the unimaginable, incomprehensible, astronomical probabilities that would have occurred when science compares the probabilities of creation to a super tornado tearing through a junkyard and leaving behind a fully functional Boeing 747. When one starts to realize how much we try to explain creation within the human context, the less probable it becomes. We need to examine the evidence and see how it ultimately fits within the spectrum of our existence. Take time and look at ourselves carefully, not physically, but look deep within our souls and start asking yourselves these questions that we had proposed earlier. Keep an open mind and do not let your current beliefs influence you. Alternatively, maybe if we are genuinely seeking answers, then maybe our current beliefs cannot answer them, and we are already on the path searching for answers. Let us look for them together. Let us find the truth hidden within the lies.